For problem 5, it reads, the oxygen saturation of a lake is found, so we write the oxygen saturation is found, is equal to, by dividing the amount of dissolved oxygen the lake water currently has per liter, so the amount of dissolved oxygen it currently has per liter, by the dissolved oxygen capacity of the water, of H2O. And then converting that number into a percent. So remember, to convert into a percentage, we simply multiply times 100. So if the lake currently has 6.4 milligrams of dissolved oxygen per liter of water, 6.4 milligrams of dissolved oxygen per liter of water, and the dissolved oxygen capacity, this value down here, is 9.5 milligrams per liter. And again, we just need to make sure that these units match. And it does match. It's 6.4 milligrams of dissolved oxygen per liter, and the other one is 9.5 milligrams per liter. So we have matching units. So we can do this without having to convert anything. So they want us to know what's the oxygen saturation level of the lake to the nearest percent. In other words, disregarding any decimals once we figure out the percentage, once we multiply times 100. So what we need to do is simply divide 6.4 by 9.5, and once we figure that out, which is equal to 6.4 divided by 9.5, 0.67. I'm just going to use 4 digits here, and notice what happens when we multiply this by 100. And I'm truncating. That means I'm just using 4 digits without rounding or anything. I need to multiply times 100 to convert this into a percentage. So percent per 100, which means times 100. That simply means 67.36%. Now, the problem wants us to round to the nearest percent. So because it's 67.3, this is less than 5. So we get rid of that, and it simply becomes 67%, which is choice B. For problem number 5, we would divide 6.4 by 9.5. So that's what the problem is saying, to divide if we want to find the oxygen saturation of the lake. But this is, and we want to convert this into percentage form. So it clearly says that we need to multiply by 100, because that's how you have to find the percentage. So times 100, it gives us 67.3684210.5%. The percentage symbol would need to be added there. Rounding, this gives us 67%, which is choice B. For problem 6, it reads, a rectangular lot that measures 125 feet by 185 feet is completely fenced. What is the length in feet of the fence? So we have essentially a rectangular lot, and the short side measures 125 feet, and then the long side measures 185 feet. And it's a good idea in these prompts to draw something like what I've done here. They want to know the length in feet of the fence. So if they want to know the length, essentially you want to know what all of this perimeter measures. And since you know that this is a rectangle, in other words, that these are 90-degree angles, then it follows that if this side is 125 feet, then this side is 125 feet as well. And so if this side is 185 feet, then this side has to measure 185 feet as well. So to find the total length, you would simply add 185 plus 125 plus 185 plus 125. And of course, the answer here is 620 feet. For problem 6, because we have a rectangle and it measures 125 by 185, all we need to do is simply take the first value of 125
times 2, because there's two sides that measure that. So notice how I put that inside of parentheses, and then add, open a new set, the next side measurement, which is 185, and again there's going to be two of those, and close the parentheses and press enter, and the correct answer is 620 feet. Now another way around this would have been to simply do 125 plus 125 plus 185 plus 185, which of course gives us 620 as well. So it really depends how you want to do this. You could have even added 125 plus 185, so that's the sum of the first two sides, and then double that because you know that you have another segment that would be equal to that as well, and that would be the same 620. So several ways of finding the right answer here.
For problem 7, they want to know the expression A times, then you have B minus C plus D, and it says it's equivalent to, and they give you 5 choices here. So this is a basic algebra prompt. I'll do this, rewrite it with this type of parenthesis, so A times. I'm making this parenthesis big, and then the next one, the B minus C, making it smaller, so you can see that A is multiplying the entire thing here. Okay, very careful with that. So what you would want to do is remember PEMDAS, the order of operations. And in this case, well, we always group M and D and A and S, and this is always left to right, and this is always left to right. But we started with P, grouping symbols. And you have a couple of them here. So you have this larger grouping symbol, if you will, and then you have this one over here for B minus C. But think about it. For B minus C, there's really nothing you can simplify. B minus C is simply B minus C. You don't have any values to plug in, replace. You can't do any, you can't combine these terms or anything. So these parentheses really are worthless. You don't need them. So there you go. B minus C plus D is really what's inside that big set of parentheses here that I replaced instead of the brackets. You could use the brackets and it would still be the same expression. I just used a bigger set of parentheses than these, so you can clearly see what's happening. Anyways, regardless of brackets or parentheses, whatever you use, at the end of the day, A is multiplying all of these elements or terms that are inside the parentheses. So you need to distribute. You use the distributive property, and that means A is going to be multiplying the B, and it's going to be multiplying the subtracting C, and it's going to be multiplying the adding B. And what happens then is that A times B is simply AB. Then the A here is positive, and when you multiply a positive A times a subtracting C, you get a subtracting AC. And then the positive A times an adding B is equal to a plus AB. And scanning the choices here, you realize that the correct choice is, of course, C. For problem 8, if 6x minus 3 is equal to negative 5x plus 7, then what is x equal to? Well, this is a basic algebra prompt. 6x minus 3 is equal to negative 5x plus 7. And since they want us to find the value of x, we're solving for x. Now, a lot of choices with these prompts, but really the best thing to do here is first of all to realize that you have two terms on the left side, the 6x term and the 3 term that is subtracting. Then you have two terms on the right side, the negative 5x on the one hand, and then the adding 7 term on the other. Now, because we're solving for x, we would like to keep the x term positive. So notice that because this is a negative 5x right here, if I want to send it to the other side, and think of equations like scale balances, the type where if you put weight on one side and then weight on the other, as long as you're putting the same weight, say 5 kilograms on both sides, then this scale is going to be perfectly balanced. And why is this relevant? Because equations can be seen as scale balances in the sense that if they're saying that this side, 6x minus 3, is equal to this other side, the negative 5x plus 7, then just be careful. If you do something to the right side, you better do it to the left side as well. and do the exact same thing. Otherwise, you will end up creating an unbalanced equation. You'll break the equality. And that's something that is very, very important to remember when using or when solving rather equations and working with these types of expressions. So what I suggest you do here, because you have this positive 6x term and then you have a negative 5x term on the other side here, you want to combine these, but the equal symbol doesn't let you do that. So essentially you want to send this to the other side. How do you get rid of this negative 5x? Well, simple. You add 5x to the right side. Negative 5x plus 7 plus 5x, well, these two will cancel out, leaving you with the adding 7. This is 0, so 0 plus 7 is simply 7. But remember, scale balance. If I added 5x to the right side, I better add 5x to the left side as well. And so what happens when you do 6x minus 3 plus 5x? Well, you can combine like terms, the 6x with a 5x. 6 apples plus 5 apples, or 6x plus 5x is equal to 11x, 11 apples. Then you still have a subtracting 3. What's the next step? Well, you want to add 3 to both sides of the equation. That way, on the left side, you end up with 11x minus 3 plus 3. This becomes 0, so 11x plus 0 or minus 0, it doesn't matter. You get 11x. And then on the right side, you end up with 7 plus 3, which is 10. Again, think of a scale balance. If I'm adding 3 to the left side, I better add 3 to the right side as well. Last step, well, you have 11 times x, and remember we're trying to isolate the x. So 11 times x is equal to 10. You want to get rid of this 11, this coefficient. So you do that by dividing both entire sides by 11. 11x divided by 11, because everything is multiplying on the numerator, these 11s divide into 1x, which is simply written as x. And then on the right side, you end up with 10 11ths. So x is equal to 10 11ths. And you really can't simplify this, so 10 11ths is the answer, which is, of course, choice G.